and welcome to another episode of The Tea with
Malavi
and Thomason. And today's topics are going to be super interesting, so stick around and make sure you're watching.
So for our aperitif, which is basically our show starter, we'll be asking a very important question. I think it's very it comes up in almost every conversation that we have, but we've never really addressed it. Do you think that the term "dress how you want to be addressed" is still valid? What does it even mean?
I think it comes up in conversations that you have with the older generation more than it does with like your peers.
Actually.
I have never had any of my peers tell me something like just how you want to be. That sounds like my mom and my grandma and my aunties. That's the older generation, though.
I think that the whole mantra of dress how you want to be addressed started from a time when modesty was ideal. Everybody thought that if you want to be addressed in a respectable way, you should look a certain way, and that was supposed to be, well put together, well covered up, not exposed. However, as time has gone by, I think people have learned to. I don't know why it was even a thing before, but people have come to terms with the fact that what someone wears has nothing to do with who they are as a person, and you should give everybody respect regardless of what they wear. But there are still a lot of young people who think that modesty is ideal. There are still a lot of people who ask you, for example, when somebody gets molested and they ask what's she wearing, that's what they have in their mind. Do you understand? A lot of the time, maybe they don't come out to say it, but dress how you want to be addressed is still very prominent at every age group. That's what I've seen.
Okay. Fair. But like, I don't know. I just think it's for me. Yeah, a lot of young people. Is it the same way? A lot of young people still have like mentality that they took from their parents. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the issue with the whole that mentality stems in the older generation. I genuinely don't know people or have ever spoken to anyone who has said to me or have had that as a premise for whatever they are saying to me specifically.
So when we say as a mantra, we don't necessarily mean people are saying that to you.
That's what I'm saying. But, as a premise, it's not even as a premise. Like, I've heard people say, like, just like, oh, this babe was raped. What was she wearing? You will find that is more frequent with an older generation. It's the same way I started working at a new place recently. Mm-hmm. It's a nice building. It's one of these big tech company buildings and whatever. It's an old company building. And when I come to work, I change my hair like every week. When I come to work, the looks I get from the second I park my car to the second I get to enter my office is like, what's she wearing? Because I don't wear, everybody else, I'm in the lift with 5 other women and they're all wearing heels. They're wearing this black pencil skirt with one ruffled high neck top and blazer, and they're all looking the exact same way, feeling fly as hell. They are fly as hell in their own right. But me, in my pink, like baggy pants and white shirts, the denim jacket, doesn't make me less than you in any way. Doesn't mean that, oh, she must be one of the, random babes that's working there, or she must be a secretary or something like that. Because they've asked me that, oh, what? So are you like the receptionist? And I was like, no. And I read her, okay? But that's because I had to, because she looked at me and saw me and thought to herself, yeah, this must be someone that is like, I don't know, on the lower end of whatever's happening in their company. So, for me, I just find that it happens a lot more with the older generation than it does with our generation. Not to say that our generation is exempt, because nobody is exempt in any of these kinds of cases, because you will still find people that behave that way in your generation and even in younger generations. But
I think because I have spent a lot of my life in like a white collar corporate society, and you see this thing that people ask you. A lot of times people think I'm like a copper. Like I work there, I'm doing NYSC or something. Nobody ever thinks that, oh, she's been here for a while. She's actually an HR person, do you get? But I think that it's not just an age thing. I think that the expectations have carried themselves into like the corporate sector, such that when you work or when you go to a certain kind of organization or gathering, you're expected to dress a certain way. But I think we should ask ourselves the question, does your appearance actually have an impression? So when you are running a business, for example, do you think that when you're trying to make money, the way that your staff put themselves together will affect the way that the customer or the prospective client receives them? Don't you think that they have a point for saying that?
100%. But I think we look at dress how you want to be addressed as such, is as a modesty issue. As you need to dress a certain kind of way, you need to be more modest.
Not necessarily modest, more like more responsible looking, because it doesn't just affect women.
Yeah, but modesty also applies to men.
Okay.
Like, so, don't wear skinny jeans.
Exactly.
So that's why I said modest. Yeah, not exactly. Like it applies to both genders, 100%. But like, think about it this way. If I run my own business, if I have an office, I have staff, the head of some major bank is coming to my office to finally sign the papers that I've been working on for months to fund my business, right? They come into my office and my staff are in there, and they're like, the girls are wearing crop tops with like bum shorts, the guys are shirtless and like short, like they're about to go to the beach. They're not going to think we're a serious company based on their perception of what they're looking at. And the fact is, people judge you by what you look like from the jump, no doubt. Not that it's right, but it's human nature to judge you. So it's not really about being modest or being respectable. It's about your common sense. If a big man is coming to my office, I'm not going to wear a mini skirt, but I'm going to wear my red pumps. I'm going to wear my most expensive jacket. So, you're not playing with a small girl. It's about feeding the perception that you want someone to see. And that's just, for me, how I look at it.
I also think that for people who feel like they are caged by by the rules that people give them, I think that it's best to just put yourself in a place where you can handle the rules, because regardless of them dress the way you want to be addressed being invalid as of today, there are still expectations, there are still norms that will guide us. The people who you are trying to get money from are most likely part of the older generation. So it's important to understand that while you want to live free and all, when you're in a place where there are rules, if you're working in like a financial services provider, if you need to wear a tie, I don't think that's the time to be flexing it's not a valid mantra.
It's really not.
I think that while we try to bend the rules and make people understand, because honestly, I don't see any reason why I should wear a tie. Whether or not I'm going to see like a rich person, I think that I can put myself together in such a way that I look presentable, and I will even look rich without the tie. So if it's about getting you to give me money, you will give me money. Do you get? But I feel like regardless of wanting to be rebellious, we should just understand that as of today, 2021, people still have rules. So when you're presenting, just make sure that you're within that space.
There are many other ways to be rebellious too.
Exactly.
Like, I remember when I was in secondary school, which might be trivial, but like, they said you cannot wear white socks, white long knee-high socks, and you had to wear like a specific kind of shoe. But my shoe was not nice, and I didn't like ankle socks, so I would wear white knee-high socks and like this kind of like, I can't remember what they were like, but if I would literally put them on our Instagram page, like, they were like boots, like small little booties. And for me, I was the flyest babe out here. But it was me rebelling against the school because I didn't like what they told me to wear, right? However, I got in trouble for that. They sent me home. It didn't make sense, because I was at home, my parents were looking at me like, is it not just shoe? Is it not just socks? When you come home, maybe you can still wear your socks and shoes. Like, it's all about just knowing the time and like deciding on the long run what exactly is it really worth it.
Not
at the end of the day.
Not every fight is worth fighting.
Not every fight is worth fighting. Now, if I want to come here in white socks and my booties, I can do exactly that, and nobody will stop me. It's life, Just have to get with the program at some point. So like the other day, right, I was in my car and I was listening to the radio, and I think I randomly ran into a conversation. I didn't know what the question was or what the premise behind the question was, but it was some woman who had called into the station and she was ranting. And she was ranting about, all all this on Instagram now, it means that you don't have to be modest anymore. You don't have to be modest anymore. What our children are looking at all these women who are not wearing clothes on Instagram. They think it's okay. They think it's normal to be going outside and not wearing clothes. And I was like, what? This is like a typical Nigerian woman conversation. And I was like, this is how people think. Like, how do I then conduct myself in the way that I want to dress? Because I like to wear short things. It doesn't matter where I'm going to. Even my work skirts, they are short. But that's just the way I am.
Wait, but can I ask something? Is there like a universal definition of decency?
No.
Do you think that anybody can wear whatever they want anywhere and it should be fine? Is that what you're saying?
No, but those are two different conversations. There's no universal level of decency. Because if you think about different spaces that there are in the world, there are different tribes, different cultures, different kinds of people. What may be decent to you, if you go to South America or go to the middle of the Amazon, they are close. I'm even thinking far. If you go to the east, go to the villages in the east,
where the women don't wear, some of them don't wear clothes generally.
So is that decent to you?
No, but when you are in a particular setting, the fact is that it is decent to them there because that's what they do. In Lagos, we don't walk about topless.
Yes,
do you understand? So is there a standard?
So you're saying there is standard in Lagos because that's not a universal standard.
Okay, so is there a standard that guides generally in whatever? So if something is generally considered to be offensive, do you understand? If it's not offensive, there's not even a conversation. So how do you now determine what is okay or not? Do you get? Because you cannot say, okay, somebody is wearing this in Lagos. And if she was in the East, it's okay. She's not in the East. Do you understand? So is there like a standard that guides?
I don't think it's a standard, really. I think it's just about understanding your environment. It's not a standard. It just, if I'm, there are things I don't wear in Lagos because I know that. So I step out of my father's house. My father has friends everywhere who think like the average Nigerian man and woman, and they will go back and say, your daughter dressing like a hoe outside, that kind of thing. Whereas when I was in uni, I didn't think twice about the way I dressed. I didn't think about it. I wore whatever I wanted to wear, whether it was a piece of cloth covering my nipples and that's it. It was my prerogative to decide that because the way I thought in that space is very different from the way I think here. It's not necessarily a standard, but I consider the environment. I consider my situation in this current environment. If I was in the East and they said to me, "Sin, you don't have to wear shirts here," would like to take off my shirt.
I just think that it's very subjective. I actually agree with what you're saying, but I just feel like there's no way to really determine what is decent or not. You get? Some people don't like looking at other people's tits showing in their tops. That doesn't mean it's illegal. You get? I have no problem with it. So really, it's not easy to differentiate. So I understand why some people, if you think that something is indecent, you're going to want to protect your kids from it. So I understand why people like that woman would call in. I don't think it's right. I think it's still nonsense because what's your business? And if you don't want your child to see it, cover your child's eyes. It's not that deep. You get? But I get where that comes from. Another thing that I have seen people say is that at this point in 2021, because we're all forming, it's okay, dress however you want. However, if you don't look a certain way, you should not pull off, or you cannot pull off certain looks. Take, for example, things like crop tops. I have conversations with people that are close to me all the time on Instagram, and a lot of the time, someone will send me a picture and be like, oh, this babe, like, I applaud this babe, like, she has guts being able to wear this thing. Why? Because they don't think it's cool. And if you go in that person's comment section, a lot of the time, especially if it's like a popular person, you're going to see one or two people calling them out. Oh, this doesn't look good. You're making big girls look bad. Do you understand that kind of thing? So I feel like people sort of even tie decency to the way you look. If your body is okay, I mean, nobody drags Beyonce. Beyonce wears whatever the fuck she wants to wear. Do you understand? But let Lizzo try it.
That's just human beings, man. Human beings will always body shame. They would always shame you. They would always find something to pick on. See, if you check Beyonce's comments, you will find people shaming her for all sorts of things that don't make sense. Some are like, but most of them don't make sense. 99.9 don't make sense, to be honest. especially Rihanna, which 100% don't make sense, but that's a different story for a different day. The fact is, people will always shame you, and people that go, oh, I applaud this big woman for wearing this crop top. That's your own mindset as you, the person that is coming to say that. This person may not even be thinking, why are you applauding me?
Exactly.
Like, it's a crop top, a shirt. I didn't kill Jesus. So, like, so what? Me and my stomach. Oh my God, there's this thing that Amare said the other day it wasn't the other day, but it was a while ago, but it's stuck in my head on Instagram. And she was like, yeah, I'm a little chubby, but I'm not going to stop wearing my crop tops. Like, what are you going to do about it? Will you come and cut off if you want to pay for my lipo, give me the money so I can do something else like breast enlargements. That works for me. Not, like, you can shame me all you want, but it doesn't affect my life. That's human beings for you. They would always do stupid things like that. Just have to learn how to chest and take and grow tough skin, man. It's not easy, but everybody needs tough skin. Especially in this day and age. And I feel like especially people who get that shame a lot, they learn to grow tough skin quicker, but not everybody does.
Yeah. I think that, like, receiving such negative attention a lot of the time for doing things that someone else would do, and it won't be classified as such a terrible thing because they are smaller, puts pressure on people to go and do things like get surgery, go ahead and get like lipo. And that's why we see a lot of, God forgive me, sorry you guys, but a lot of wonky bodies.
Yo,
I'm so sorry, but like I was telling someone that, see, people that have regular bum in Lagos were like 5. Me, my sister, and 3 other babes.
Yo, that just reminds me of the fact that, like, if you are watching Big Brother right now, it's like this year they said
no bum, no BBN.
As in, literally,
no bum,
if you don't have
no
ass,
BBN.
don't bother. You can't reach. Just go home. Nothing there for you here. Because what?
And have you noticed how, like, before, everybody used to be so anti-nudity and everything that the Big Brother phenomenon seemed to represent?
No.
As they've switched up.
They laugh it up.
From them City's time, when curvy babes, they're becoming like, okay, there'll be one babe. Now, this year that they gave us full everything.
As in,
the number of comments I've seen about, oh my God, why are they naked? They've reduced.
See, the truth is, it's like the other day I was out with a friend, and I remember everywhere you go in Lagos now, Big Brother is playing. The gym, the club,
the hair salon,
Big Brother is playing. And she was watching it very intensely, and I was watching her. She was watching it very intently. And she was like, why is her breast out like that? And I was like, which one? She's like, no, but like, it's not decent. It's just not decent. Like, look at her. She's just shaking. Everything is just jiggling. And I was like, oh, here we go again. Conversation. But I'm ready for it. My friend was with me, and he literally was like holding my leg, like, Thompson, calm, Thompson, relax. And I was there like, I understand.
Wasn't it like a pool party?
Yeah, it was a pool party. So do you get, even that context, it was a pool party, and she was wearing a bikini. But yeah, her bikini was one of them ones that just like a triangle over your nipple kind of situation. And yes, she had big boobs, so it was like spilling out on all sides. And her ass was just like, as I said, Big Brother this year is on something else. But like, she was really upset about the fact that this girl was, in her own mind, indecent on TV. And I couldn't understand why she felt it was I kept saying, it's a pool party. She's at a pool party. She said, so, at a pool party, won't you still wear something? Won't you still cover your bits and bobs? Won't you still, And I was like, that's your own view of indecency. I asked her at that table, like, once she was done ranting, I then said, I stood up and I was wearing a white mini skirt and one of them tops that is just straps all the way to the bottom. And I said to her, I said, so do you think I'm indecently dressed? And she kept quiet. That's when I knew. And that's when I knew. That's what you really think of me, guy. I was like, so people in their mind have their own view of life and have their own view of decency and modesty and how you are dressed and how you should be addressed. But it didn't, because I was because I had already told her who I was and what I was doing, she did not
It's
address me.
hypocritical,
It
please,
is.
dear.
She didn't
It is
address me
hypocritical, yeah.
in a negative light. She was very
Exactly.
engaged by things that I do, so many things and what I do. But here she is pointing at, I think was it Angela or somebody on Big Brother? Angel.
And there she is, still glued to the screen. It's indecent, but yeah, there. So that's another thing. Sex sells. Let's not discount that fact.
That's facts.
Sex will always sell. So when we say things are indecent, blah, 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 I think that we're just trying to fulfill our hypocritical needs and the need to just like
say something,
sound self-righteous and whatnot. Because most of the time, the content that we classify as indecent is what sells the most. Do you get? We've said it now that Big Brother is basically like we think that there's a body type now for the Big Brother show. Why? Because these bodies, and Angel is keeping us glued to the screen. So let's not make it seem like, oh, we don't like what we see. Do you understand? The reason why they are giving us that content is because it's what we want to see.
It is.
And it shouldn't necessarily affect the actions that people take. Do you understand? So I feel like you may have your preferences, but what's decent is very subjective. So we shouldn't try to force it on anybody.
Agreed. Learn something, guys. Learn something. So if you're watching right now, go pour yourself a stiff drink because this is the second section of the Tea with MT episode today. Malubi, you're in a car with an Uber driver. You're going from Aja to your mom's house. And the guy's breath is smelling. The thing is, you're sitting in the front seat. So you know as if you can run anywhere. You can't cover your face. You can't do nothing. How do you tell that nigga to please stop the car and go and brush his teeth?
I feel like the scenario is wrong because with the way that Bolt and Uber rides are set up now, it's a huge risk to give them negative feedback while on the ride. So I promise
That's
you,
not what
I
will
will wear my mask. What? My mask will be on, first of all, and I will just hang in there until we're done.
Have you never been in a car with or talk to somebody with your mask on and their breath still pongs through your mask?
I think, okay, so maybe if we make it just like a ride I am on with somebody, not necessarily that. Because as I said, the reality is we are not guaranteed anymore. You can say something and the person decides to beat you. And I'm not trying to get into that space.
Enough.
I cannot fight.
Bolt, Uber, do better.
Exactly. But if I'm on an extended ride with somebody, I usually would have mints or gum or something. Or I'll buy. And I'll offer the person. If they say no, I'll be like, and I kind of insist. I kind of insist. I think you should just take it. Just take it. That's what I would do. If they don't take it, I would not say anything, but they will get the hint, and I will put it out there so that when their ego comes down, unless you're stupid, or if I tell you I insist, that means that you need it. I'm trying to save your ego, so I will not come out and say, oh, your breath is bad. But I'll just let you know that, oh, like you need to freshen up. And if you don't agree, I'll put it out there and I'll move on.
Fair enough. It's difficult to have some conversations with people. With strangers, it's a little bit of deciding whether or not you are even wanting to engage in said conversation, if it's worth it. But sometimes it just is. Yeah. And even that is hard. Even if, like, I know there's a time when I was standing in a queue somewhere and there was this man raking to somebody else behind me, just talking about the saleswoman in a very just disgusting way. And I was standing there thinking to myself, do I engage in this conversation? Do I insert myself here and say, this is wrong, you need to stop talking like this and tell the guy to shut up? Or do I just like close my ears, put my earphones in and walk away from the situation? I chose to walk away.
Exactly.
Not because I couldn't insert myself, but I weighed my options at that point. This man and his friends are being very loud and very disgusting. And I was a young woman on my own in that situation. If I was not alone, there's no reason why I wouldn't have turned around and said, excuse me. But I just gauged, the repercussions here are a bit difficult.
I honestly feel like, so in that kind of situation, it depends. If they are talking to somebody is the recipient in that situation, I would definitely intervene. If they were talking they're talking to the girl directly. Exactly. Yeah. But in other situations, even if I wasn't there, a lot of those people, I have a lot of experience with Nigerians. The typical Nigerian who is misogynistic, who is ageist, who is homophobic, who has like those problems. I don't think it's worth my own mind to engage them. A lot of the time, I would just remove myself from that place. If I don't want to hear it, I'll just remove myself, because a lot of the time they don't want to learn. So you trying to call them out, all they are going to do is involve you in the mess, and you're going to end up getting triggered. So it's important to know who and who to engage. Don't be like a waste of your time.
Facts.
That's the truth. You get. But for me, if it's someone I care about, I think first of all, it's important to establish that there's actually a problem. So with things that are trivial, like bad breath, are they just having a bad day? Do they always smell bad? Is there something you can do about it? Because there's someone I used to know when I was younger who they said like the person ate too much salt, or they were not bathed properly as a child or something. And they've had body odor. Like when I say body odor, I mean like somebody will be standing at the door of the studio and will be smelling it from here. Like a proper stench. But here's the thing, they used to take showers like 3-4 times a day. And we used to be in school, so we'll have lessons from 8 till like 2 o'clock. Before 2, the person is starting to already give off fumes. What do you want them to do at that point? They know they smell. So why are you going to come out and say, oh, you need to go and... They know. Do you understand? So I think for me, is there a problem? Is it something that's a pattern? Is there something they can do about it? And is it my place to come in? So if it's like something that's difficult, like a real deep situation. So for example... someone that you think is really bad with money, or someone that's always borrowing money, getting into debt, I know that's a really crucial conversation to have. I think that timing
is important
and approach are very, very key, because more often than not, the person knows that something is amiss. They know that they are spending a lot of money. They know that they shouldn't be doing this, but they already have a justification in their mind that they are battling with. So if you come at them with that, oh, I heard you've been gambling. I saw your page on BetNight. Do you understand that? I don't think it's productive. And then at a time when, so for instance, someone has had a really bad day, or someone has had a great day, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think that it is fair. Do you get sometime 2 years ago, somebody had a difficult conversation with me, which I knew came from a great place. I knew it came from a very good place, but I was literally just coming off like the high of doing that very same thing that they didn't want me to do, 1. And then 2, at that point in time, I was just not ready to hear it. It wasn't the right time. And thankfully, like you've always said that you felt like the timing was wrong. But you know, a lot of people, till tomorrow, if we let this person know that, oh, the timing was wrong, she's going to say no, it was okay to her. It doesn't always have to be when it's impressed upon your heart to talk about it. Sometimes you just need to give it time and understand how to communicate it to the person so that they know that you're there for them and you have their best interest at heart.
Yeah. Because people take things differently, right? Like, to you, on that particular day, it was like an attack, right? It felt like an attack. And there are some people that won't take it like an attack, but there are people that will. And it's all about, I feel like it's all about just understanding this person, especially if they're your friend or your family. It's about understanding this person, understanding the situation. Don't jump and attack people, because the repercussions of doing that to your family and friends can be grave. Yeah. It can end up like my dad's a lawyer, right? He tells me all the time about families that come in and they are fighting over land. Brother and sister, twins that literally are sending people to kill each other over their father's will or something like that. It all just starts from not being able to have conversations, like not being able to sit down and say, this is a difficult conversation to be had, but we're going to have it, and we're going to have it at the right time, in the right way, and with an agenda and with a conclusion.
I think it's also good to understand that because people are different, it's not every time that your opinion will be accepted. Sometimes you tell them, oh, you have a problem, and they say, I beg to differ. I think you should mind your fucking business. What are you going to do at that time? Like, are you going to get offended at everybody that doesn't take your advice? I think the important thing is just to make sure that you are being a friend to them or family to them. You're being kind to them as you're telling them, because you don't want to put them down. And you understand that they may or may not take your advice. I may be offended that you tell me that my breath is bad.
You're allowed to be. You're allowed
and
to be.
Your parent that he told me, especially if I know that it's an off day. And in my mind, I'm like, this babe knows that it's not normally like that. So why is she? Do you get? So you just need to understand that it's not every time that your difficult conversation will go well. Just remember that you're dealing with another human being who has an ego and has feelings just like you. So take that into consideration when you're having the conversations. So how about conversations with friendship is one thing, yeah. You can not see your friends. How about people when you live in the same family house, when you have issues with your brother or sister or like your parents?
I mean, I've been on the side of being, my parents would tell you first of all that I'm stubborn. They would always say that I'm stubborn. I don't like listening to them. I don't take their advice, blah, 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 blah. They always say that. Always. It's a constant thing in my house. Somebody doesn't listen to anybody's advice. She wants to do her own thing. But sometimes I feel like, especially with your parents, you know that they want the best for you. You know that they love you. You know that they care about you. But the advice that they are giving to you or the difficult convo they want to have with you is wrong. I'll give you an example. I have a lot of friends that belong to the LGBTQIA community, right? And I go for Pride. And my mom is a Christian, by the Bible, a believer, by the Bible Christian, right? And the first time I was going for Pride and she found out, I was already at Pride where she was calling me and I was like, hello, and she's like, where are you? I've not seen you today. And I was like, I went to Pride. And then she starts going off on the phone. What are you doing there? Why are you there? Are you a lesbian? All those kind of things. And I was just like, this is weird. So anyway, that conversation ended. I go back home and the next morning, I think they're showing Pride on CNN or something. And then she's like, all these gay things. You two, you're doing all these gay things. And I was just there like, if you want to have a conversation about this, please drop your jaw. Let's hear it. Let's talk about it. But my mom doesn't find it easy to have these kind of conversations, whereas me, I do. I have it with my dad all the time. And they're like, it's not, you can't be hanging around them. You're from a good Christian home, this and that, and their own skewed view of the world. So for them, that was a difficult conversation. I think my own response was now the actual difficult conversation, because then I had to school them and tell them how I feel, tell them what I believe in, tell them where my own mindset is at. And although, yes, we still to this day, my mom still to this day makes all these very weird and random comments about Pride or things like that, I completely ignore her, or I would proudly bring out my Pride flag. Or I will proudly do something and I don't have any shame in it. So I talk about it on my business page and all of that. We have to live together regardless. And so we had that conversation, whether it ended well or not, doesn't matter. But the fact is, we live together and we have to live together and they have to accept me for who I am and what I believe in.
I think that when it comes to family, the underlying relationship, you should always remember, unless, there are some times when obviously the relationship will be called into question. The way this person thinks, can we really continue to relate as family? Because truly, if you are, for example, homophobic, and in my own life, I have come to realize that this is who I am. I'm not going to stop being who I am because of you. I'm going to try my best to educate you and be as loving as possible and extend love to you. But if you're coming for me, people who come home and their parents their siblings are waiting to beat them up because they've come out and said, I'm a lesbian, I'm not going to put myself in that position.
Never.
So after one or two conversations that have gone bad, best believe I'm going to cut everybody off.
Yep.
Do you get?
And it's not always easy though. It's not always easy to cut off your family.
Exactly. But
it's very difficult because these are the people that supposedly brought you up, right? Supposedly brought you into this world. But at the end of the day, and something I always tell myself and I tell anybody who has issues with their family and things like that, which may sound very awful. And if my parents are like listening, they're going to be like, what kind of child is this? But like, you came into this world alone and you're going to die alone. Nobody's going to hold your hand. You're not going to be sucked back into your mother before you die. You are literally going to die on your own days. So if you don't live your life for yourself and by yourself and on your own terms, You're not living.
Yeah. I
You're
think
not
family
really living.
even goes beyond like biological connection, really. If we bear the same biological connections, but you don't treat me, my family is not a safe space. That's not a family. That's the truth. So regardless of how everybody feels, if that tolerance and the ability to accept differences is not there, I think that there's a fundamental problem from the get-go. So like in my family, thankfully, my mom is like a psychologist. So she's the kind of person that when there are issues, she'll call a formal meeting. That's how that's how our own difficult conversations happen. But when I first started to get tattoos and piercings and whatnot, my mom is very conventional. She wasn't happy about it from day one till today. She's not happy about it. But things came to sort of a boil when she talked about me getting my nose pierced and all. And she said some things that were, I thought they were hurtful. And in response, not necessarily to hurt her, but I reacted and I said like things I shouldn't have said as well. And for me, that just, it felt like for a few days we were walking on eggshells around each other. But I just asked myself, like, this is my mom. Like, I love my mom. So like, I love my mom with my entire life. Is this what I want to do? Is it that we cannot get to the point where we can tolerate each other? So I had to have the conversation with her and I told her, look, yeah, like I have these things, but I have a regular, the like most vanilla life ever. You know that like I'm the one person that followed the path that everybody wanted me to follow. So yeah, maybe I have slipped away from what you would describe as ideal, but this is still who I am. And I don't know whether she accepted it or not, but I definitely saw a change after that. So shout out to my mom, by the way. I love you and mommy. Thank you. But yeah, families should accept each other. I don't think that's a negotiable item. And if it's not going to work, as difficult as it is, you should understand that you come first at the end.
At the end. 100%. I mean, when you're the one that's getting the difficult conversation, it's also important to realize that the person that's speaking to you may, or hopefully they are coming from a good place.
They
mean well. And I find it very difficult to take criticism. So when someone is criticizing me, now, before, if you were criticizing me 2 years ago, the person that you are talking to then, not the person you're talking to now, thankfully. Because I had to learn a lot about accepting that everything I'm doing is only seen from my own mind's eye. And there is a greater mind's eye, and there are many more mind's eyes that are watching me and seeing it from different perspectives. And sometimes their opinions are valid, and you don't actually have to accept their opinion when they're talking to you. You can just listen and then go back and think about it and say, okay, this didn't make sense. This is bullshit. Okay, yeah, I guess I can take more from this bit. Like, you don't actually have to react. Listen. There's no problem. There's no issue with listening. Take it all in and then pick out the bullshit and pick the one that you want. It's as simple as that. Then you move forward in your life.
Yeah. Hey. So we're winding down now with our nightcap, which is basically our wildcard topic where anything goes. And today we're asking a very important question. How do you get over imposter syndrome?
First of all, Imposter syndrome is sort of like feeling like a fraud, feeling like hush puppy. I really wanted to say that. But like, it's all about feeling inadequate or feeling like you are where you are because of luck and not necessarily because of anything that you did, your talent or your accomplishments. You just feel like you are not meant to be in this space, no matter how amazing the space or even terrible the space. No, definitely amazing the space might be. With imposter syndrome, you find that people that generally suffer from imposter syndrome are usually people that you find they're actually usually like top-end people, experts, professionals, perfectionists, soloists, people that get things right 99.9% of the time, but somehow feel like they're failing. Also, you find this in people in the creative industry and other industries where there is no defined path of success. You are kind of creating your own path to success or what success looks like to you by yourself, and setting unattainable or unreasonable goals, or even setting goals that you are not following through with or thinking thoroughly through to actually achieve said goals. I know that I deal with imposter syndrome often, feeling like I'm not where I'm supposed to be, or feeling like I'm failing at whatever I'm doing. Like, I've been running my business now for 6 years, and I feel like everybody has grown ahead of me, or grown faster than me, or has moved on, and I'm still like padding at the back. And even though people will say, no, this is not true, they are just yarning. They're like words outside of my head, but that's not what's happening inside my head. And I had to learn how to deal with that. This is not to say that you as a human being would not have doubts, because it's natural. Everybody doubts themselves. Everybody sometimes feel like, maybe I'm not as awesome as I thought I was that year. But like, imposter syndrome really gets you down, and it can actually like link with your anxiety and depression and whatnot. And so dealing with imposter syndrome is important to, like, first of all, identify the triggers that make you start to feel this way. So, okay, it has to do with work. Okay, why does it have to do with work? What are the issues I'm dealing with work? I think the first thing to do is to write down those issues. And I know that it sounds like one therapy type joints, but it's important when you can see your triggers, when you can actually visibly see these are the things that make me feel this way. You can begin to attack them one at a time. I think the second thing would be to talk to people that are experts, or are more versed in the area you're having an issue with. So for me, I really was against getting a mentor for the longest time. I'm like, why do I need a mentor? I don't need a mentor. I know what I'm doing. They don't get me. They don't understand me. Like, I'm a creative and all of that nonsense I was saying last year. This year, I said to myself, I need someone who knows business, because I'm clearly not knowing business. So I need someone who knows business. And I found a mentor, and we're very different people. She worked in the finance sector. I'm in the creative industries. I'm picking things from her. She's picking things from me. But when I start to feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, I can go to her, and she reassures me that, every young business struggles to deal with their books. Every young business goes through that. And me, I just thought to myself, no, now, but see this other company, they look like they're doing. She said, let me tell you the honest truth, they're not. Everybody is just forming outside. But really and truly, every young business deals with that kind of issue. So that really helped me, finding someone to talk to. And I think the third thing is just for you to sort of realize that dealing with imposter syndrome, it's not going to disappear. It's all about learning how to think, or learning how to come down faster from those thoughts, learning the things that are going to help you to not accelerate those thoughts and end up being in this loop of doubt for days, for hours, days, weeks, months, or even years, but learning how to come out of that thought process faster. And there are different ways to do that. There are mantras you can say if that works for you, people you can talk to if that works for you, ways of creating sort of steps. I'm watching Mr. Robot right now, right? And he has a regime every single day to deal with this crazy person in his mind. But that also helps as well. Creating a regime. Okay, have I spoken to so-and-so person? Tick. Have I ensured that this has been done? Tick. Have I done that? Tick. Being able to set those sort of like regimes in your life and dealing with those issues would definitely help you.
Definitely agree with documentation, as per like putting out things that you want to achieve, and it helps to actually look through and see a lot of the time. Most of the time when you think you're not doing enough and you check through and look for evidence and facts, you see that you've actually achieved a bit more than you expected, or a bit more than was realistically achievable in your mind.
That you didn't know that you were going to do.
Exactly. So when you do that, it will help you to celebrate the little victories more. Just being alive alone is a victory. For a lot of people, you get. So when you do that, it's easier to come out of that hole that you find yourself in.
So just to close out, really, I think everyone should just get retrospective, like look into yourself and like look at things that trigger you, look at things that affect you in one way, and talk to people that you think can really, really help you. Write things down, like Malobi said. So yeah, I think that kind of wraps up today's episode. This episode, actually, actually really want to dedicate it to a friend of mine that passed in the creative space this week. And I know everybody's sort of going through a tough time, kind of just trying to answer the question why and how, and all those existential questions that come when someone you love and care about dies. But our love today goes out to the Forever Tired team, to Lady Donley's team, and just rest in peace, Pablo. We're definitely thinking about you and missing you so much. So
rest in peace, Pablo. We love you.
Clout. Reach out.